Welcome, everybody. This is Alan with Daily Armour of God. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're all doing well. This is reading the Old Testament chronologically in 111 days. We're on day 4 now, and we're still going to be reading through Job, chapters 24 through 36. So, if you recall the past couple of days, it's been pretty much back and forth between Job and his friends, all taking turns arguing, telling their point of view, blaming Job, Job defending himself, and also at the same time cursing himself and, being full of sorrow. So it's pretty much like that, mostly the whole entire book of Job. Um, Lots of lessons to be learned, though. So let's continue here in Job chapter 24. Verse 1. Why, seeing times are not hidden from the Almighty? Do they not know him, not see his days? Some remove the landmarks. They violently take away flocks and feed thereof. They drive away the ass of the fatherless. They take the widow's ox for a pledge. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves together. Behold, as wild asses in the desert, go they forth to their work. Rising betimes for prey, the wilderness yieldeth food for them and for their children. They reap every one his corn in the field, and they gather the vintage of the wicked. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that they have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and embrace rock for want of a shelter. They pluck the fatherless from the breast, and take a pledge of the poor. They cause him that go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry, which make oil within their walls, and tread their wine presses, and suffer thirst. Men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out, yet God layeth not folly to them. They are of those that rebel against the light, they know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. The murderer, rising with the light, killeth the poor and needy, and the night is as a thief. Yea, also the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, No eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light, for the morning is to them as the shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. He is swift as the waters, their portion is cursed in the earth. He beholdeth not the way of the vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters, so doth the grave those which have sinned. The womb shall forget him, the worm shall feed sweetly on him. He shall no more be remembered, and the wickedness shall be broken as a tree. He evil entreateth the barren that beareth not, and doeth not good to the widow. He draweth also the mighty with his power. He riseth up, and no man is sure of life. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. And if it be not so now, who will make me a liar, and make my speech nothing worth? Job chapter 25. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, Dominion and fear are with him. He maketh peace in his high places. Is there any number of his armies, and upon whom doth not his light arise? How then can man be justified with God, or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Behold, even to the moon, and it shineth not. Yea, the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less that is a worm, and the Son of Man, which is a worm? Job 26. But Job answered and said, How hast thou helped him that is without power? How savest thou the arm that hath no strength? How hast thou counselled him that hath no wisdom? And how hast thou plentifully declared the thing as it is? To whom hast thou uttered words, and whose spirit came from thee? Dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. Hell is naked before him, and destruction hath no covering. He stretched out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. He bindeth the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent unto them. He holdeth back the face of his throne, and spreadeth his cloud upon it. He hath compassed the waters with bounds, until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. I almost said astonide, because actually astonide is exactly like astonished, and it's used throughout the Bible as well. Astonide. and astonished. Basically, they're the same meaning. Astonished at his reproof. He divideth the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. By his spirit he hath garnished the heavens, his hand hath formed the crooked serpent. Lo, these are the parts of his ways, but how little a portion is heard of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand? Yeah, so basically he's telling Bildad, you know what? You don't know anything about what God would do. Because Bildad was saying back here in 25 that he was like, yeah, he could do. He's like, nothing's impossible for God. Basically, he's saying, which is true by the way, nothing is impossible for God. But he's speaking as though he knows God like completely. And then Job's like, well, you don't know him. And Job himself is going to find out later too. God's going to call him out on that later. But he's like, all these different things. Like, do you understand how these things work? So he's kind of trying to humble him because his friends are pretty prideful. They think they know everything. Not only that, but they are also blaming Job constantly. Wow, gotta love friends who just think you're guilty. I mean, they're good friends in their own way, but also bad friends in their own way too. So continuing on, Job 27. Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, as God liveth, who hath taken away my judgment, and the Almighty, who hath vexed my soul. All the while my breath is in me, and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils. My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. God forbid that I should justify you till I die. I will not remove mine integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast, and will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me so long as I live. Let mine enemy be as the wicked, and he that riseth up against me as the unrighteous. For what is the hope of a hypocrite? Though he hath gain when God taketh away his soul? Will God hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call upon God? This is a great question he's pointing out here, but this is actually a valid question for us all, isn't it? Are you going to delight yourself in the Almighty every day through every situation, no matter what you're going through? And will you always call upon God? Bible says in a lot of places that we need to call upon Him and to give Him glory and to give Him thanks. And it even says to be in prayer, be instant in prayer. The Bible says. What does that mean? Instant in prayer. It means to always be in prayer. You don't need to only pray, at a dedicated time. Although it is good to set aside time for a longer prayer. But you can just pray in your mind throughout the day if you wanted to, which you should, and always call upon God. So, very great question and something we should consider here in this verse. I will teach you by the hand of God that which is with the Almighty, will I not conceal. Behold, all ye yourselves have seen it. Why then are ye thus altogether vain? This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the inheritance of oppressors which they shall receive of the Almighty. If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep. Though he heap up silver as the dust, and prepare raiment as the clay, he may prepare it, but the just shall put it on, and the innocent shall divide the silver. He buildeth his house of the moth, and as a booth that the keeper maketh. The rich man shall lie down, and he shall not be gathered. He openeth his eyes, and he is not. Terrors take hold on him as waters. A tempest stealeth him away in the night. The east wind carrieth him away, and he departeth, as a storm hurleth him out of his place. For God shall cast upon him, and not spare. He would fain flee out of his hand. Men shall clap their hands at him, and shall hiss him out of his place. Job 28. Surely there is a vein for the silver, a place for gold where they find it. Iron is taken out of the earth, and brass is molten out of the stone. He setteth an end to darkness, and searcheth out all perfection, the stones of darkness, and the shadow of death. The flood breaketh out from the inhabitant, even the waters forgotten of the foot. They are dried up, they are gone away from men. As for the earth, out of it cometh bread, and it is turned up as it were fire. The stones of it are place of sapphires, and hath dust of gold. There is a path which no fowl knoweth, in which the vulture's eye hath not seen. The lion's whelps have not trodden it, nor the fierce lion passed by it. He putteth forth his hand upon the rock, he overturneth the mountains by the roots. He cutteth out rivers among the rocks, and his eye seeth every precious thing. He bindeth the floods from ever flowing, and the thing that he is hid bringeth he forth to light. But where shall wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof, neither is it found in the land of the living. The depth saith, it is not in me, and the sea saith, it is not with me. It cannot be forgotten for gold, neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, or the precious onyx, or with the sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for the jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. The topaz of Ethiopia shall not equal it, neither shall it be valued with pure gold. Whence then cometh wisdom, and where is the place of understanding? Seeing it is hid from the eyes of all living, and kept close from the fowls of the air. Destruction and death say, we have heard the fame thereof with our ears. God understandeth the way thereof, and he knoweth the place thereof, for he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven, to make the way for the winds, and he weigheth the waters by measure. When he made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lighting of the thunder, then did he see it and declare it. He prepared it, yea, he searched it out. And unto man he said, behold the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Wow. Did you guys just read that and hear that? Job 28:28. What does that sound like to you guys? I know what it sounds like to me. It sounds like Proverbs. Isn't that amazing? That is so amazing. I wonder if Solomon, well, surely Solomon read, their scriptures. What they had was the Old Testament, but surely he did read this, and maybe that inspired him. I'm not sure if that's exactly how it played out, but it's very similar to Proverbs. There's a couple places actually where it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs, but other places as well. And then also to depart from evil is understanding. So this is screaming to me right now of Proverbs, and I just love this verse. What a great verse, and it's so true. I've done a Bible study on the fear of the Lord, and so the fear of the Lord is not just being scared of God. It's giving the proper reverence and respect to him. He is holy God. He is our Father, Abba, but we should be giving him proper respect and reverence as a father should, as our Savior, as our God and our Lord should get reverence and respect. So that is, part of what the fear of the Lord means. So that is wisdom, obviously, because if you do fear the Lord, you are smart. And obviously, to depart from evil is understanding, because if you know what is right, and you decide not to fall into sin, and you say, well, I'm not going to do that, nope, and you turn your back to it, that's definitely understand. You understand that you need to depart from evil. So I just love this verse here, and I love Proverbs so much. So great verse. Moving on to Job 29. Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when his light I walked through darkness. And I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me, when I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil, when I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the aged arose and stood up. The princes refrained talking, and laid their hand on their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, Then it blessed me, and when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me, because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind, my feet was to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I brake the jaws of the wicked, and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was renewed in my hand. Unto me men gave ear and waited, and kept silence at my counsel. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped upon them. They waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not. In the light of my countenance they cast not down. I chose out of the way, and sat chief, and dwelt as a king in the army, as one that conformeth the mourners. You know what's interesting in this chapter? Job is looking back, right? Looking back on all that he had. And I would say, for the most part, there's nothing wrong with that. Um, he's grieving right now. We have to understand the situation. He lost everything. He's covered in boils. His wife, told him to just curse God and die. Man, what a blow that would have been as well. After everything, his wife told him that, which is very sad. Um, because you're supposed to support each other, right? And that's just, and like he said, that was foolish. That was something foolish, she said. But the point is, he's going through all this and he's looking back on what he had, and he's like in the process of mourning and grieving. So I don't think necessarily that that's a bad thing if you're going through something like that. But, the lesson, there's many lessons in Job, but one of them is, that we have to, no matter what, if we go through stuff like Job, even if it's not as bad as what went through, or if it's worse as what Job went through, we have to cling and stay close to God in all things. And it's not good to entirely dwell on those things in the past, like he's dwelling on right now. But we just need to cling to God. That's one of the lessons in Job. No matter what happens, good or bad, I should say bad or good, not just in the bad times, but in the good times too. Cling to God, right? Job 30. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hand profit me, and whom old age was perished. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cities of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And now I am in their song, yea, I am their byword. They abhor me. They flee far from me, and spare not to spit in my face. I love this word, abhor. If you don't know what it means, it's basically strong, extreme hatred, right? It's way more than just hate. It's like extreme hate, so to speak. So abhor. Just how God abhors evil. It's not just hate, it's like extreme. Like righteous indignation. Like he hates it. He cannot tolerate sin or evil. So, I like the word abhor because it just perfectly describes it. Sometimes when the word hate, like, yeah, whatever, I hate that. It gets, I feel like words get misused these days, and words lose their meaning. And one example, and I'm guilty of saying this sometimes too, is awesome. I say awesome sometimes because, in different situations. But if you really stop and look at the word awesome, it's awesome, full of awe. And really, that word should be used for God, right? Because he is full of awe. But that's just like one example of words kind of losing their meaning Just like how hate kind of loses its meaning. That's why I feel like abhor is very good, because it's more than just hate. But I digress. Let's continue on. Because he hath loosed my cord and afflicted me, they have also let loose the bridle before me. Upon my right hand rise the youth. They push away my feet. They raise up against me the way of their destruction. They mar my path. They set forward my calamity. They have no helper. They came upon me as a wide breaking in of waters. In the desolation they rolled themselves upon me. Terrors are turned upon me. They pursue my soul as the wind, and my welfare passeth away as a cloud. And now my soul is poured out upon me. The days of my affliction have taken hold upon me. My bones are pierced in me in the night season, and my sinews take no rest. By the great force of my disease is my garment changed. It bindeth me about as the collar of my coat. He hath cast me into the mire. I am become like dust and ashes. I cry unto thee, and thou dost not hear me. I stand up, and thou regardest me not. Thou art become cruel to me. With thy strong hand thou opposest thyself against me. Thou liftest me up to the wind. Thou causest me to ride upon it, and dissolvest my substance. For I know that thou wilt bring me to death, and to the house appointed for all living. Howbeit he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his destruction. Did not I weep for him that was in trouble? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came unto me, and when I waited for light, there came darkness. My bowels boiled and rested not. The days of affliction prevented me. I went mourning without the sun. I stood up, and I cried in the congregation. I am a brother to dragons, and a companion to owls. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. My heart is also turned to mourning, and my organ to the voice of them that weep. Job 31. I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Doth not he see my ways, and count all my steps? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot hath hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. If my step hath turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after mine eyes, and if any blot hath cleaved to mine hands, then let me sow, and let another eat, yea, let my offspring be rooted out. If my heart have been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind into another, and let others bow down upon her. For this is a heinous crime, yet is an iniquity to be punished by judges. For it is a fire that consumeth to destruction, and would root out all mine increase. If I did despise the cause of my manservant or my maidservant, when they contended with me, what then shall I do when God riseth up, and when he visiteth? What shall I answer him? Did not he that made me in the womb make him, and did not one fashion us in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten my morsel myself alone, and the fatherless hath not eaten thereof, for from my youth he was brought up with me, as with a father. I have guided her from my mother's womb. If I have seen any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless, when I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from my shoulder blade, and let my arm be broken from the bone. For destruction from God was a terror to me, and by reason of his highness I could not endure. If I had made gold my hope, or have said to the fine gold, Thou art my confidence, if I rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because mine hand had gotten much, if I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand, this also were an iniquity to be punished by the judge, for I should have denied the God that is above. If I rejected at the destruction of him that hated me, or lifted up myself when evil found him, neither have I suffered my mouth to sin by wishing a curse to his soul. If the men of my tabernacle said not, Oh, that we had his flesh, we cannot be satisfied. The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. If I covered my transgressions as Adam, by hiding mine iniquity in my bosom, did I fear the great multitude, or did the contempt of families terrify me, that I kept silence and went not out to the door? Oh, that one would hear me! Behold, my desire is, that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book, Surely I would take it upon my shoulder and bind it as a crown to me. I would declare unto him the number of my steps. As a prince would I go near unto him. If my land cry against me, or the furrows likewise thereof complain, if I have eaten the fruits thereof without money, or have caused the owners thereof to lose their life, let thistles grow instead of wheat, and cockle instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. In Job 32. So these three men ceased to answer Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then was kindled the wrath of Elihu, the son of Barachel the Buzite, and the kindred of Ram. Against Job was his wrath kindled because he justified himself rather than God. Also against his three friends was his wrath kindled because they had found no answer and yet had condemned Job. Yeah, so this is very good. That his friends, those three friends, who, aren't acting like a friend, they're just condemning Job. Like I said, they just think he's guilty. They're like, well, he must have done something bad to incur all this wrath. That was their thinking, and they wouldn't change their stance at all. And then Job, we just read, he was like, he literally was justifying himself. Like all of Job 31. He's like, I wish somebody would write a book to show what I've done against anybody. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything. And so, yeah, he's kind of angry here, and he's kind of right too. His friends are not doing so well, and also Job. Job, granted, his situation is bad, but he is feeling sorry for himself, and he is making himself righteous in his own eyes. So here we go. They're all kind of in the wrong here. Now Elihu had waited till Job had spoken, because they were elder than he. Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these three men. Then his wrath was kindled. And Elihu the son of Barachel the Buzite answered and said, I am young, and ye are very old, wherefore I was afraid, and durst not show you mine opinion. I said, days should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom. But there is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. Great men are not always wise, neither do the aged understand judgment. Therefore I said, hearken to me, and I will show mine opinion. Behold, I waited for your words, I gave ear to your reasons, whilst ye searched out what to say. Yea, I attended unto you, and behold, there was none of you that convinced Job, or that answered his words. Lest ye should say, we have found out wisdom, God thrusteth him down, not man. Now he had not directed his words against me, neither will I answer him with your speeches. They were amazed, and answered no more. They left off speaking. When I had waited, for they spake not, but stood still, and answered no more, I said, I will answer also my part, I will also show mine opinion. For I am full of matter, the spirit within me constraineth me. Behold, my belly is as wine which hath no vent, it is ready to burst like new bottles. I will speak that I may be refreshed, I will open my lips and answer. Let me not, I pray you, accept any man's person, neither let me give flattering titles unto man. For I know not to give flattering titles, and so doing my Maker would soon take me away. Job 33. Wherefore, Job, I pray thee, hear my speeches, and hearken to my words, all my words. Behold, now I have opened my mouth, my tongue hath spoken in my mouth, my word shall be of the uprightness of my heart, my lips shall utter knowledge clearly. The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. If thou canst answer me, set thy words in order before me. Stand up. Behold, I am according to thy wish in God's stead. I also am formed out of the clay. Behold, my terror shall not make thee afraid, neither shall my hand be heavy upon me. Surely thou hast spoken in mine hearing, and I have heard the voice of thy words, saying, I am clean without transgression, I am innocent, neither is there iniquity in me. Behold, he findeth occasions against me, he counteth me for his enemy. He putteth my feet in the stocks, he marketh all my paths. Behold, in this thou art not just. I will answer thee, that God is greater than man. Why dost thou strive against him? For he giveth not account of any of his matters. For God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon man, in slumbering upon the bed. when he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide the pride from man. He keepeth back his soul from the pit, and his life from perishing by the sword. He is chastened also with pain upon his bed, and the multitude of his bones with strong pain, so that his life abhorreth bread, and his soul dainty meat. His flesh is consumed away, that it cannot be seen, and his bones that were not seen stick out. Yea, his soul draweth near unto the grave, and his life to the destroyers. If there be a messenger with him, an interpreter, one among 1,000, to show unto man his uprightness, then he is gracious unto him, and saith, Deliver him from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom. His flesh shall be fresher than a child's. He shall return to the days of his youth. He shall pray unto God, and he will be favorable unto him, and he shall see his face with joy, for he will render unto man his righteousness. He looketh upon men, and if any say, I have sinned, and perverted that which was right, and it profiteth me not, he will deliver his soul from going into the pit, and his life shall see the light. Lo, all these things worketh God oftentimes with man, to bring back his soul from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living. Mark well, O Job, hearken unto me. Hold thy peace, and I will speak. If thou hast anything to say, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify thee. If not, hearken unto me. Hold thy peace, and I shall teach thee wisdom. You know what's interesting in these verses is that this Elihu, he waited till everybody was done speaking because he felt like, he was younger. He wanted the elders to go first, which is, that's good to give your elders proper respect. Let them go first. So we see that he has a deep understanding of, how things are supposed to go. And it also goes to show that you don't have to be old necessarily to have understanding or to have wisdom. And even Elihu said that. He said, not all wise men, not all old men are wise, right? And that's true. So it's person to person, right? So we can't always just say like older means wiser, or vice versa. It just depends person to person. Are you in the Word daily? Learning all that you can so you can help others. That's important as well. And it doesn't matter your age at all. So young, old, you need to be in the Word daily so you can help others with the Bible, with any questions that arise, with sharing salvation with others. So moving on to Job 34. Furthermore, Elihu answered and said, Hear my words, O ye wise men, and give ear unto me, ye that have knowledge. For the ear trieth words, as the mouth tasteth meat. Let us choose to us judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job hath said, I am righteous, and God hath taken away my judgment. Should I lie against my right? My wound is incurable without transgression. What man is like Job, who drinketh up scorning like water, which goeth in company with the workers of iniquity, and walketh with wicked men? For he has said, It profiteth a man nothing that he should delight himself with God. Therefore hearken unto me, ye men of understanding. Far be it from God that he should do wickedness, and from the Almighty that he should commit iniquity. For the work of man shall he render unto him, and cause every man to find according to his ways. Yea, surely God will not do wickedly, neither will the Almighty pervert judgment. Who hath given him a charge over the earth? Or who hath disposed the whole world? If he set his heart upon man, if he gather unto himself the spirit and his breath, and all flesh shall perish together, and a man shall turn again unto dust. If now thou hast understanding, hear this, hearken to the voice of my words. Shall even he that hateth right govern? Wilt thou condemn him that is most just? Is it fit to say to a king, Thou art wicked, and to a prince, Ye are ungodly? How much less to him that accepteth not the person of princes, nor regardeth the rich more than the poor, for they all are the work of his hands. In a moment shall they die, and the people shall be troubled at midnight, and pass away, and the mighty shall be taken away without hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of man, and he seeth all his goings. There is no darkness, no shadow of death, where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. Man, I like these verses. And we see this a lot in the Bible too, actually. In many different parts of the Bible, it says, there's nowhere man can hide from God. God is everywhere. There's nothing that you do that's unseen, because God sees all. God is in all and sees all. And he's saying here, yeah, these workers of iniquity, these sinners, there's nowhere for them to hide. Nowhere. For he will not lay upon man more than right, for he should enter into judgment with God. He shall break in pieces mighty men without number, and set others in their stead. Therefore he knoweth their works, and he overturneth them in the night, so that they are destroyed. He striketh them as wicked men in the open sight of others, because they turned back from him, and would not consider any of his ways, so that they caused the cry of the poor to come unto him, and he heareth the cry of the afflicted. When he giveth quietness, who then can make trouble? And when he hideth his face, who then can behold him? Whether it be done against a nation or against a man only? That the hypocrite reign not, lest the people be ensnared. Surely it is meet to be said unto God, I have borne chastisement. I will not offend any more. Yeah, and one more quick note. In the Bible, it talks a lot about chastising and chastisement. And also in Proverbs, this is interesting too. In Proverbs, it talks about chastisement, not fearing chastising, because we shouldn't, hate chastisement. I know it kind of stinks that we have to go through it when we mess up, but it's to correct us. And it says in the Bible that God only chastises those whom he loves. So if he's chastising you, guess what? He loves you. He is our Father, Abba, and he wants us to come back to him just like a good father would chastise his children, because he doesn't want them to go down a road that will lead them to their hurt and their destruction. No, he's chastising. A father will chastise you so you stay on the right path or get back on the right path, and you don't mess up, and you don't ruin your life, and you don't hurt yourself. So we need to understand this, that when we mess up, we will be chastised in some way, in some time. Who knows when it will be, but only God. The fact of the matter is, it's because he chastises us because he wants to see us get back on the right path. And when we go through any kind of chastisement or pain or suffering or anything, we need to cling to God, not fall away from him, or not get angry with him, and not curse God. That's the whole point. One of the points of Job, not cursing God when something bad happens to you, right? And not falling away from God. No, you need to cling to that. Think about King David. King David, when he lost his son because of that whole mess, his sin, he lost his first child with Bathsheba because of his sin. But God blessed him, even though he did sin, right? Because we're all sinners, Romans 3:23. He still used King David, right? And King David still was a man after God's own heart. Why? Why would he still use a sinner, a murderer, and an adulterer? Because David, despite his sin, despite all our sins, he chose not to fall away when he messed up or got punished. He chose to cling and be stronger for the Lord. So we always have to be careful when we're going through something, not to choose the vile path and the angry path and fall away from God. That will take us further and further away from God. We need to cling to him and correct ourselves, learn from our mistakes, and stand up, dust ourselves off, and continue on and be stronger for the Lord. Not make that mistake again. Tell yourself, whatever it may be, not to do it again, and live for the Lord. Stronger. Be strong for the Lord. Right? Be passionate for the Lord. So I know my point's kind of getting far from what I was talking about here. We're talking about chastisement, and that's basically my point. When we sin, God will chastise us, and we need to choose. We have to choose whether or not we're going to cling to God or fall away from him. Right? So let's continue. That which I see not, teach thou me. If I have done iniquity, I will do no more. Should it be according to thy mind, he will recompense it, whether thou refuse or whether thou choose, and not I. Therefore speak what thou knowest. Let men of understanding tell me, and let a wise man hearken unto me. Job hath spoken without knowledge, and his words were without wisdom. My desire is that Job may be tried unto the end because of his answers for wicked men. For he addeth rebellion unto his sin, he clappeth his hands among us, and multiplieth his words against God. Job 35. Elihu spake moreover and said, Thinkest thou this to be right, that thou saidst my righteousness is more than God's? For thou saidst, what advantage will it be unto thee, and what profit shall I have if I be cleansed from my sin? I will answer thee and thy companions with thee. Look unto the heavens and see, and behold the cloud which are higher than thou. If thou sinnest, what doest thou against him? Or if thy transgressions be multiplied, what dost thou unto him? If thou be righteous, what givest thou him? What receiveth he of thy hand? Thy wickedness may hurt a man as thou art, and thy righteousness may profit the Son of Man. By reason of the multitude of oppressions they make the oppressed to cry, they cry out by reason of the arm of the mighty. But none saith, where is God my Maker, who giveth songs in the night, who teacheth us more than the beasts of the earth, and maketh us wiser than the fowls of heaven? There they cry, but none giveth answer, because of the pride of evil men. Surely God will not hear vanity, neither will the Almighty regard it. Man, these verses are speaking to me here. I did a Bible study on pride, called Pride and Punishment, and I go through examples throughout the Bible of people who have pride, and God humbling them, and there's many examples, and it's just so true. If you are prideful, you will be humbled some way, somehow, at some time. um, God will humble the pride. And sometimes when God humbles you, it's severe, right? Um, Sometimes it is super severe, like death, right? Remember King Herod? King Herod, there were people around him giving him praise, and he loved it. He loved the glory of men, and they were saying he was like a god. And in his heart, despite not saying anything, mind you, he didn't say anything. He didn't stop them saying, no, 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 give glory to God. No, he did not say anything. So sometimes when we don't say something is bad too, depending on the situation. So sometimes being silent is not right. So he did not say anything. He did not stop them. Just like another side example here, sorry. But Paul, Saul, he didn't take part necessarily in Stephen's death. He was standing nearby when they stoned him. He didn't do anything. He stood there, but he was consenting. His inaction to stop them attributed to Stephen's death. So my point with that is, um, if sometimes by doing nothing is bad. So King Herod didn't stop them from saying he's a god. He thought that the reason why he didn't stop them from saying that is because he thought in his heart he was like a god, or maybe even the god. The point of the fact of the matter is, God saw his heart, and guess what? Struck him down, right? Because he was so prideful of himself, he thought himself to be God. And my point is here that God will humble you. Sometimes the cases are extreme. So be very careful about pride. Although thou sayest thou shalt not see him, yet judgment is before him. Therefore trust thou in him. But now, because it is not so, he hath visited in his anger, yet he knoweth it not in great extremity. Therefore doth Job open his mouth in vain. He multiplieth words without knowledge. And this last verse here, I can understand this. I think we all can. Sometimes when we're going through something in life, maybe something will come out of our mouth that isn't necessarily correct, which goes back to choosing our words wisely. We need to use our words for good, not for bad. We need to use our words for edifying and uplifting rather than for cursing and evil, right? Like Jesus Christ says, it's what comes out of our mouth that defiles us. So we need to watch what we say. And there's so many passages in Proverbs actually about being slow to anger, slow to speak, always be listening. You should listen way more than you speak. So that way we don't mess up and something slips and comes out of our mouth and we can't take it back. Once it's said, it's said. Yeah, we could apologize to the person or whoever in that situation, but and they may even forgive us, but that word will stick in their mind for a really long time, right? So we have to be careful with our words. And in this situation with Job, he was grieving, and of course, when we grieve, we're probably going to say things we don't mean. Um, But even when we're grieving, we have to have that awareness to watch what we say. And luckily, Job did have great awareness to not curse God in all his grieving. Yeah, he was. Um, I don't. I don't want to say this to disrespect him, but he was kind of feeling sorry for himself in a way, right? Kind of. He was like looking back on it and all that, and be like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything, which is very understandable, right? It is. But we need to not be like that. We need to not remember, even in pain, not to curse God and watch what we say, right? So moving on to Job 36. Elihu also proceeded and said, Suffer me a little, and I will show thee that I have yet to speak on God's behalf. I will fetch my knowledge from afar, and will ascribe righteousness to my Maker. For truly my word shall not be false. He that is perfect in knowledge is with thee. Behold, God is mighty, and despiseth not any. He is mighty in strength and wisdom. Amen. He preserveth not the life of the wicked, but giveth right to the poor. He withdraweth not his eyes from the righteous, but with kings are they on the throne. Yea, he doth establish them forever, and they are exalted. If they be bound in fetters, and be holden in cords of affliction, then he showeth them their work, and their transgressions that they have exceeded. He openeth also their ear to discipline, and commandeth that they return from iniquity. If they obey and serve him, they shall spend their days in prosperity, and their years in pleasures. But if they obey not, they shall perish by the sword, and they shall die without knowledge. But the hypocrites in heart heap up wrath. They cry not when he bindeth them. They die in youth, and their life is among the unclean. He delivereth the poor in his affliction, and openeth their ears in oppression. Even so would he have removed thee out of the strait into a broad place, where there is no straightness, and that which should be set on thy table should be full of fatness. But thou hast fulfilled the judgment of the wicked. Judgment and justice take hold on thee, because there is wrath. Beware lest he take thee away in his stroke. Then a great ransom cannot deliver thee. Will he esteem thy riches? No, not gold, nor all the forces of strength. Desire not the night when people are cut off in their place. Take heed, regard not iniquity. For this hast thou chosen rather than affliction. Behold, God exalteth by his power. Who teacheth like him? Who hath enjoined him of his way? Or who can say, Thou hast wrought iniquity? Remember that thou magnify his work which men behold. Every man may see it, man may behold it afar off. Behold, God is great, and we know him not, neither can the number of his years be searched out. Amen to that. God is great. Amen. For he maketh small the drops of water, they pour down rain according to the vapor thereof, which the clouds do drop and distill upon man abundantly. Also, can any understand the spreadings of the clouds or the noise of his tabernacle? Behold, he spreadeth his light upon it, and covereth the bottom of the sea. For by them judgeth the people, and he giveth meat in abundance. With clouds he covereth the light, and commandeth it not to shine by the cloud that cometh betwixt. The noise thereof showeth concerning it, the cattle also concerning the vapor. So we start to see here, if you've read Job before, this is what Elihu is saying here is very, very similar to what God is about to say when he finally speaks. I mean, you can really tell that, God was with Elihu here in his speaking, because it's very similar to what God is about to say. And we'll be reading that tomorrow. But yeah, it's he's saying all these things, like stuff that we wouldn't even consider. And, uh, saying things like, do you know how clouds work? Do you know how he sets them, and how he puts clouds in between the sun and the light? Like all these things. And God will say stuff similar to this. He's like, do you know how I caused the rain to come to the earth? Do you know how I do this and that? Stuff that we can't even comprehend. And it's just important, because sometimes we as humans, we want all the answers right away, right? We do. Job is probably thinking in his mind, well, he definitely said it. He's like, why is all this stuff happening to me? What did I do wrong? And sometimes we're not going to get those answers, and nor will we understand everything in the Bible or what's going on in our lives. If we did, we would be like God, right? We are not God. We'll never be God. We have one God. and he is supposed to know everything, and we're supposed to rely on him and him alone. So, in these situations, they may be hard, but we have to endure and we have to trust in him no matter what we're going through, good or bad or good. Trust in him. So, anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a great evening, morning, noon, wherever you're at. Remember to put God first in everything you do. Have faith in him, have trust in him, wait upon him, be in the word daily, and you'll never be sorry. And God willingly, we'll see you tomorrow with the rest of Job and some more of Genesis. So, God willingly, and God bless and take care. Bye bye.